going to introduce Dr. Rand Diab. Dr. Diab is a mother of 3 and practicing physician, specializing in ophthalmology and ophthalmic surgery. In addition, she is a community worker. In particular, she organizes events for girls in various capacities. Some of her past projects include girls' clubs and community service events. Her recent project is a local Quran school for girls of all ages, named the Carriers of Light, for which she is co-founder and co-director. And without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Diab.
Thank you all for having me. It's really an honor to be here with all of you, and an honor to be here speaking to all of you. I think what I have to say will be a lot of things all of you already know, and you've heard them before, but if you're anything like me, sometimes I need to hear things multiple times before I can try to actually make positive change in my life. So I'm hoping that some of these little tidbits that I've picked up along the way here and there might be useful to some of you as well. So Marjorie already mentioned, you know, as all of you, I do try to balance the multiple roles in my life. I'm a mother of 3. I have a daughter who's 13 and 2 boys who are 9 and almost 6. And definitely they're a priority, but I also do work, and I've been practicing physician now for over 10 years, and I specialize in ophthalmology, and it's a really wonderful field. I love working with the eyes and doing eye surgery, and it's a very positive field for the most part. Most of our patients improve, and they're happy with their outcome, so it's a very nice place to be. As a community worker, all of the things that I've tried to do, many of them have focused on girls and women, and in particular, I think because my first child was a girl, and I tried to focus a lot of my work around the age that she was in so she could fit into what I was doing. And I think my boys got a little shortchanged, because now that I've done girls and women, I've just really stuck on that. So they're really jealous about that. What I wanted to talk about today were a few little mottos that motivate me that I sort of made up, and maybe they're kind of cheesy, but just so that I could have easy reference to them. And I'll try to go through them relatively briefly with a few easy examples. The first is submit to the stage. Second is make it meaningful. The third is ponder priority. And the fourth is choo-choo change. So for the first one, as all of you know, we go through all these different stages in our life. And I've always was struck by this verse from the Muslim holy book, the Quran, that Muslims believe this is the word of God. And here God, our creator, is telling us in swearing by the afterglow of sunset and by the night and whatever it gathers in its darkness and by the moon when it's full, that you shall certainly travel from stage to stage. And this, even many, many years ago, was always very striking to me that, you know, this is a natural part of life, stages in our life. And every stage has something special about it and something challenging about it. And I really wanted to talk about the idea of just submitting to that. So you're in this stage of life, accept it and try to find the joy in it and try to see the benefit in it and the positive in that time of life. And every time of your life is going to have its challenges. But I think what was always really hard for me was this idea that I was always looking to the next stage of life, you know, and that somehow that stage was going to be easier, or I was going to accomplish more, or I was going to be able to check off all my things that I wanted to achieve in life, and it was going to happen in that next stage. But it's going to happen in this stage of life if you make it happen. Because if you don't make it happen now, it probably won't happen in the next stage either. And so that's the idea of submitting to that stage of your life. And you know, you're going to have some that are going to be harder than others. All of us know that. But the idea is, you know, it's kind of like the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, don't have that philosophy, because then you'll never get to where you want to be. The second one is make it meaningful, and this is kind of about mindfulness, the idea that we do so many things in our everyday life, and many of them we just sort of breeze through them because we're just trying to get them done. And if we sort of pause and make some of those things a little more meaningful and be more mindful while we're doing them, those things can help us get to the place that we want to be. So all of you, all of us have certain goals in our mind, and some of them are dreams, and maybe sometimes we are scared to really think of them and let them become concrete in our mind because we're scared that we can't achieve them, that they'll never be a reality for us. So we don't even let ourselves pause upon them and say, this really is like a dream for me. I wish I could be this kind of person or achieve this thing in my life. Well, oftentimes we're doing little things in our everyday life that could push us closer to that goal, but we're not making them meaningful. So some of the examples I sort of think of in my life are like things that I do with my kids. Like I'm running around driving them here and there, and at night I do bedtime routine, this, that, and I think, you know, I try to just pause when I'm reading them a story and really make that moment meaningful, because these are the little moments that make up our life. Our life is just a collection of little moments. And if we can be in that moment and make that moment meaningful, not all the time, I mean, I'm not unrealistic, but a lot of the time, and maybe just increase a little bit more, then we can try to work towards being a happier person and achieving a lot of the things that we want. And for instance, as a Muslim, I pray 5 times a day. So there are certain set times of the day that I have to stop what I'm doing and make my prayer. It only takes maybe 5 minutes, but you know, you can imagine, like sometimes you just can't get away for 5 minutes. So when I do it, and I do really try not to miss those times, oftentimes I might be hurrying or thinking about other things, and I try to remind myself that if one of my goals is to be more connected to my Creator and to be a more spiritual person, these are my moments. I should take advantage of them. I'm doing it anyway. I'm stopping and I'm leaving all these other things and I'm pausing to do this prayer time. I should be more focused in it and be more mindful, and that can help me achieve one of my goals, which is to be this more spiritual person. And I think sometimes subconsciously, I'm the type of person, maybe it's a type of perfectionist thing or whatever, where, you know, I want to put the thing off until I can do it really, really well. So, you know, it's like, I'm just going to, next year, I am going to do some kind of spiritual retreat or whatever it is, and it's going to make all the difference. Well, that might not ever happen. And so I better make today meaningful. And that's actually a lesson I've learned in my life is, you know, I always thought if I could just take a year off and, you know, maybe take time off work or maybe do that, I would do all these other things. And when that opportunity came to me in a time that I didn't ask for it or expect it, I don't know if I was able to, you know, do all the things that I wanted to do. I think it was actually just another collection of everydays, and all of those everydays are the things that make up our life. So, you know, these are kind of the things that I try to remind myself of, you know, just every moment in your life, when you sit down and have your morning cup of coffee, when you know, look out the window, whatever it is that you're doing, try to somehow make those moments meaningful and be mindful of them and be in that moment as much as you can. The next one is about priorities, ponder priorities. This is basically to tell us that every different time in your life, every day or every situation or every year or every month will present you with a different set of priorities. And you have to realize what those priorities are, think about them, and know which things you're going to focus on. Because all of us probably in some way, we want to be this superwoman who does everything and does it all well. But the reality is that that usually is really hard to accomplish over a long period of time. And you may just have to say, these are my priorities at this time in my life, or in this situation, these are my priorities, and focus on those things and do them well, and put the other things aside. And there may be some things that you might have to put aside permanently, or there may be some things you just have to put aside temporarily, or maybe there are some things that you just need to modify. So maybe there's a certain thing you really want to accomplish, and you just need to you want to do this huge scrapbooking project for all your kids that shows their whole lifetime from when they were born till wherever the age they're at. Maybe you just need to say, this year I'm just going to focus on the one kid whose birthday comes up next, and I'm going to do a 1-year scrapbook for them. And so I've done the thing, but I've modified it because I have to focus on what my priorities are at this time in my life. And, you know, there are so many things pulling us in different directions, and I think that for me, I have to realize that it doesn't make me less of a person or a bad person if I don't do all of these things well. You know, and all of you guys have heard that before, but this idea that, like, I'm going to maintain this perfect home, and I'm going to do all this stuff with my kids, and I'm going to be a professional, and I'm working in my community, and I'm going to exercise and take care of myself and all these things. And sometimes you have to say, well, which things then can I let go? And the things I might choose to let go of might be different than the next person or my friend or my coworker, because we all have different priorities. So she may have a different set of priorities, and that's okay. Accept that and and reflect on what those things are. And so that way you can, you can decide which things to take off your list. Which things are you going to outsource if you can afford to maybe hire out for someone to clean your house sometimes, or have some kind of, maybe you have a friend who's a really good cook. Maybe you can give her some money, and when she's cooking dinner for her family, she can cook for your family too. Whatever things, and accept that that's okay. I'm not less of a woman or a wife or a mom because I don't cook dinner for this wonderful, healthy dinner for my family every night. But I am doing a disservice to my family if I think that I'm going to be doing something that I cannot achieve, because then I'm just going to be winging it every night and grabbing fast food because I couldn't do it, and I'm stressed out and I'm feeling guilty and I'm frustrated because I tried to set these, these ideals for myself that were not my priority at that time. So that's kind of basically what this is about, is just thinking about outsourcing, taking the things off your list that you don't have to do yourself, somebody else could do for you. It might be a matter of just spending money on it. It might be a matter of trading with a friend, or getting help from friends or family or people who are good at the things that maybe you don't want to put the time into, and you want to choose to put that time into something else that's more valuable to you or more of a priority to you. Okay, so this one's really cheesy, sorry about that, but choo-choo change is talking about change, making change in your life. And the choo-choo thing is, two things kind of come out of that. One is just this idea of like chugging along, you're just kind of trying to chug along and push yourself and make these changes in your life and doing it slowly and gradually. And then the other one is the little engine that could kind of, I think I can. So that's where this comes from. And this is basically just to say that change is really challenging, and don't overwhelm yourself. Make a small change in the right direction. So don't be like me, or like one of these people who says, this little bit isn't going to matter. If I'm not going to do the whole thing, I'm just not going to do it at all. And then you just put off these things that you want to achieve in your life, things you want to accomplish, changes you want to make that help you become a better person and be happier and be better to the people around you. You end up putting them off because you think you can't do enough, or you can't do it good enough, or you can't maintain it long term. So you just don't do it at all. I mean, that's a problem that I have, and that's why this is something I really have to remind myself of, is when I'm packing my kids' lunch, they always want to have like chips and whatever, and they want to trade their snack at school to get the better snack. And if I give them something healthy, then they're not going to be able to trade for whatever. And so brought this, and so brought that, and so they just want to have chips at their lunch every day, basically, to sum it up. And so I told myself I'm just going to swap it out for an apple. Just at least once a week, I'm going to make that small change that will over time will accumulate towards something better for them. And maybe after I do that once, maybe I'll be able to swap it out for something else a second time, and before we know it, we've moved in the right direction. Because otherwise, I'm going to be thinking, next year I am going to do this super awesome whole food organic lunch for my kids, and I'm not going to buy any more of these other products. I'm going to throw everything out, and I'm only going to buy, and it's going to be so overwhelming that I'm either going to put it off, or when I finally do it, I won't be able to maintain it. So small changes. Another example I'm trying to do is I try to take the stairs at work. I work on the 4th floor, so I always try to take the stairs. Just little things like that, walking more, taking the stairs more, trying to be less sedentary. The other thing, this example of the messy room, is picking one small thing that you can handle, that you can change. I think something simple as just making your bed every day, it takes a second. It literally takes like 3 seconds. And it makes your room feel neater. When you come home at the end of the day, it feels more peaceful there. It feels more picked up. And it's easier then for you to do the other things that come along with maybe you want to have a neat bedroom. You want to come home to that at the end of the day, and you just have a hard time accomplishing that. That's one small change that you can make. And I think of that as well when I have a really messy kitchen, or something like maybe have people coming over and it's so overwhelming, is just start with one small thing and just do that thing, and before you know it, you'll be done with everything. And so I think if we can kind of encourage ourselves in life to sort of make these small changes and know that change is difficult, but that you just pick one thing and then everything else can kind of come from there. One of my motivations is my faith tradition as a Muslim, and actually one of the sayings of our beloved prophet, peace be upon him, Prophet Muhammad, is this idea that the dearest actions to God are those done regularly, even if they're small. And I try to remind myself of that because I'm this type of person who's like, oh, if I'm not going to go all the way, then I might as well not do it at all. It's useless. And I try to remind myself, just do something small and try to do something you can handle and do it regularly. And those are the things that are going to build up in your life. And when you look back, you know, it's kind of like this making it meaningful thing. When you look back, your life is just a collection of moments. It's a collection of these small things that you did. And those are the things that